What's going on, everybody? Nick Whalen, Jeff Erickson, back with some more fantasy baseball content for you. This time around, we're talking 5 pitchers that our expert Jeff Erickson will be avoiding in fantasy baseball drafts this season. Jeff, very excited to hear about your list here, and we'll start at the top with Corbin Burnes, transitioning to Arizona after spending 1 year in Baltimore. Of course, pitched well last season, but you got to pay up. We're looking at an ADP hovering around 35 to 40 right now in the NFBC. That places him about 6th among starting pitchers. What are the underlying concerns for you when it comes to Corbin Burnes, outside of the fact that he's turning 31 later this year?
Well, first of all, there's the notion that a player is coming off of a big contract. Always a little bit of a concern to do that there, especially when that contract was signed when by his agent contacting the owner when the general manager was out of the country. And the next in line was also out of the country. One was down in New Zealand. The other was in Europe. They found a way to work it out, but they're kind of appealing to the managing owner and, Ken Kendrick. It was kind of interesting because Burnes wasn't getting the offers that they wanted. And all of a sudden Arizona swooped in there. That's not enough. So let's give you a statistical reason as well. Here are the last 5 K percentages for Corbin Burnes. It started 5 years ago, 37.6%. 4 years ago, 35.6. 30.5, 25.5, 23.1. What's next in the sequence? I'm concerned. The K percentage is dropping. The K per 9 is dropping. You put more balls in play, bad things happen. You're counting on that Arizona fly catching defense, which is excellent. A lot of good defense out there to be able to kind of counteract the lack of swing and miss. But at some point, it becomes untenable. I would not have signed him to a 6-year deal. Now, maybe that doesn't matter for this year's price. And he is going a little bit cheaper. He's like SP 8 right now in the NFBC, going roughly around 40 in the average draft position. Before he was a top 3 starting pitcher. So he's going down a little bit. I don't think it's enough. I think that's a price I'm not willing to pay so far.
Okay, we'll look a little further down the board where we find Tyler Glasnow of the LA Dodgers. ADP hovering around 110 right now. Of course, coming off the elbow, he says everything's good. The prognosis seems to be generally optimistic at this stage. Did throw a career high 134 innings last season before being shut down in August. But this is not a guy with a sterling health track record, to put it lightly, Jeff. What is keeping you from taking that plunge? Is it really just about the injuries?
It is mostly about the injuries. I think control is a little bit of an issue too. Sometimes you worry about him walking too many batters, worrying about him, giving up big innings just because of when the control eludes him. But the real issue is the durability there. Last year he threw 132 innings, which was a career high. I heard that self-diagnosis, clean bill of health. I'm not very trusting on this one here. And if I don't know, I'm just going to avoid because there's other fish in the sea at that price there. So someone else is probably going to go. If they can beat me with Tyler Glasnow, congratulations. You're not going to pay the same price as you did last year. And the reports in spring training are going to tell a lot, but he's not going to be on my roster right now.
Yeah, the exact quote from Tyler Glasnow, and I believe this was back in October. He said, quote, "Yeah, it looks like it's fully healed." Yeah, not necessarily the most ringing endorsement.
It's not quite not Dr. Nick, and I'm not referring to you, but I am referring to The Simpsons there. But it's I could use something a little bit more official.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, a lot of attention, perhaps too much attention, focused on Paul Skeens last season, Jeff, and rightfully so. But how about Jared Jones? ADP hovering around 150 right now. Debuted as a 22-year-old last season. We talked a lot about this throughout the year. Pirates were very careful with his workload. Are there still some workload concerns there? What's keeping you away from him?
I think performance after he came back from his lat strain, first of all. Command wasn't there. Still doesn't really have a good third pitch. The home run rate was relatively high at 1.33 per 9. He is 22, or was 22 in his rookie year. So we can forgive some of this. I get that. But I've got a little bit of lingering concern that he is not the same pitcher that he was like in April and May. And let's face it, April and May is, when sometimes some batters aren't doing their best either there. So I'm just a little concerned that he can be the pitcher that we're hoping for. Again, price is reasonable and spring training is going to tell us a lot again, but probably a guy I'm avoiding in the 150 range. I need him to drop to about, 180, 190 before I'm taking that plunge.
Well, a player who's going in that range, Jeff, conveniently, is Luis Gil, the reigning AL Rookie of the Year. Of course, got off to a ridiculous start in May. A little bit more up and down after that. Coming off of a season in which he missed the entire campaign in 2023. So we're talking about a guy who's now 2 years removed from Tommy John. But I know you have some concerns here, maybe some sustained regression coming for Luis Gil.
Yeah, and it starts all off with the control. I in my notes I wrote wild, and it stands out. And sometimes there, and looking at having those big innings, he had a couple of just horrendous outings, and that's one of the things that you always worry about a little bit there. Anybody that has that high percent, that 12% walk rate like he did, is going to have the big inning problem. That you add in some health concerns, missed a lot of September. I had him in AL Tout Wars last year, and I had depth in starting pitching. I needed a bat. I tried to peddle him. For the life of me, I could not get a real offer for Luis Gil. And I think it's your competitors also don't trust Gil. So now if you're in a trade league and you're thinking, okay, I'll get this guy off to a good start and see if I can flip him, sell him high, don't. First of all, drafting a player to later flip him is a bad idea on its face. When you do it with a player like this with a known flaw, it really kind of comes back to bite you.
All right, let's go to a guy who you often see go off the board at the end of drafts, really going undrafted in a fair amount of leagues right now. Andrew Abbott of the Cincinnati Reds made 25 starts last season, 3.72 ERA before being shut down with that shoulder late in the year. I mean, this is your guy, Jeff. You're our resident Cincinnati Reds guru. Shout out Willie Bopena. Shout out Ryan Friel. What's keeping you away from throwing a late round dart at Andrew Abbott?
I love the Willie Mo shout out there. Well done. I took him in a draft most recently, and I feel great shame. I'm like, I didn't love it at the time. I like it even less now the more I dug in on him. So it's basically find a higher upside guy in the end game here. Go for a guy that can strike out more batters. If you look at, he had a kind of a disappointing last year, ended the year with the shoulder problem, Abbott did, and it still wasn't as bad as it probably should have been. The difference between his ERA and his xFIP is over a run and a half. It's just basically, this is a scream avoid sort of guy. Mm-hmm. So I didn't heed that lesson in my most recent draft. I won't be rostering him again.
Okay. Well, there we have it. 5 starting pitchers our expert Jeff Erickson is avoiding this season: Corbin Burnes, Tyler Glasnow, Jared Jones, Luis Gil, and Andrew Abbott. Go check out all of our videos over at the RotoWire YouTube channel. While you're here, make sure you're subscribed. Give these videos a like. That helps us out a bunch. We really appreciate everybody engaging with those videos. And if you want free access to everything on our site, including James Anderson's prospect rankings, our optimizers, all your tools for draft season, you see it on the screen right there, rotowire.com/try, TRY. Free access to everything on the site. Again, that's rotowire.com/try.